Welcome to the Dad, Coffee, and Kids podcast, where caffeine-powered dads look to level up as fathers. We talk about life as a dad with young kids while managing work, family, and finances. That said, grab another cup, and I'll see you on the other side. Welcome back to another episode of the Dad, Coffee, and Kids podcast. So we recently had a pretty rough week and a half with two sick kids. It's that time of the year, right? And my oldest son, my 3-year-old, he had come down with a very high fever. This was over the weekend, and we actually ended up keeping him home from school on Monday because of it. So rough weekend, very high fever, kept him home for a day, and then around Tuesday, we did send him back to daycare on Tuesday. He was much better in the morning. He had a rough day. But as Wednesday morning, when he woke up, he was pretty much back to normal. So other than the brief scare over the weekend, he was mostly fine. But while we were dealing with my 3-year-old and concerned about him, my youngest, my almost 2-year-old, he never really appeared at all visibly sick, right? There was no signs of anything. But then at one point we realized, he hasn't pooped in 2 or 3 days, which is very unlike him, right? So we realized it. We just paid very close attention, and another day or two went by. So now we're at like day 4, and he hasn't gone. And he's eating mostly. He's peeing. He's doing all the normal stuff. Then one day he threw up, and we're like, that's really strange, because that's not like him either. Even when he's been sick in the past, I can't really recall him actually throwing up since he got past the phase of when babies spit up, right? So I haven't seen that in a while. And then sure enough, day 4 or day 5, whatever it was, he goes. And it's bad. Like, all hands on deck. My mother-in-law, who was actually watching him that day, she got, we called it the lucky diaper. She got the lucky diaper, and it was, again, it was bad. It was all over him, all over the place. It was a mess. Smelled terribly. But this now went on for a few days. And pair this with that, the day before he went, when I mentioned he threw up, he had actually continued throwing up, not every meal, but shortly after he ate for a day or two. And we were convinced maybe he has a stomach bug. Don't think it was food poisoning, because he wasn't, other than his throwing up and diarrhea. Again, he wasn't visibly sick. Like, he didn't have a fever. He didn't appear to have runny nose or anything like that. Not that a runny nose is associated with food poisoning, but again, he just wasn't acting sick other than those few things. And sure enough, one night, I forget exactly which night, but he had gone during the day, hadn't gone to the bathroom for a while. Again, seemed fine. One night around like 2:30 in the morning, he starts crying real hard. And I let it, he was crying so hard. Normally I would let him cry for a little bit, see if he puts himself back to sleep. But he was crying so hard, I went in within a minute or two. And sure enough, he had gone in bed. And it was so bad that it went through came out of his diaper, went through his pajamas, on his sheets. It took like 45 minutes to clean it up at 2:33 in the morning. So get that clean, get him cleaned, get him back in bed, calm him down. But from that point on, he was pretty rattled. So like every half hour, he would keep waking up, crying, yelling, "Dada." I'd go in, check on him, hold him, put him back down. This went on all night. So whatever night that was this week, I really didn't sleep. And that following day, he was probably the day where I had been saying he hasn't been visibly sick. He was so tired, he just like slept the entire day. And then magically the following day, the day after that, he was just he was good. He was like back to normal. He got everything out of his system, got caught back up on sleep. He was ready to rock. But when the kids get sick, it takes a massive toll on us, right? So, I mean, I powered through it, but I'm not going to say I fully recovered from that night of no sleep. It's been a long week. And, obviously this is common with young kids where they're sick. It's almost like you're sick too. You're up with them. You're again on their schedule. So if they're up during the night, you're up during the night. So just thought I would share the most recent episode with the kids. They've been really, really good. They don't get sick too often. So I have absolutely nothing to complain about. But when they do, it's all hands on deck. It's what can we do to make them feel comfortable? We're very good and patient, I believe, at not rushing to the doctors. We let it play its course. Obviously, make sure they're safe, right? But we'll let whatever they have play its course for a day or two, see if they're improving, getting worse, and then make a decision if we're supposed to go to the doctors. But in the aftermath of all of this, one thing I was very thankful for, and something that we use quite often when we have questions or if we believe our kids are sick. And one tip I have for you dads is a lot of doctors these days, especially pediatricians, they have online portals for, I'm sure you have it, like I have it with my doctor, but they also have it for the kids. Each of my boys has their own portal login. And we fully utilize this. I joke with my wife that I think we're power users with it, and I don't know how many people actually do, but it's such a game changer. So if we have any questions or if we're unsure, and obviously we're all busy, right? You can communicate with the doctor or at least their staff through the portal. Kid has a rash, take a picture, send it. There's been many times where they were able to diagnose, write a prescription, whatever the case is. There was a few times where they were like, hey, you have to come in. And one of those times, obviously, we're super thankful, and the doctors are really good. They were able to realize we can't diagnose this over communication via the portal and pictures. Something's just not right. We ended up going in, and this is like a year or two ago. My son had strep. So I wrote to them. He was saying his throat hurt. He had like a rash, possibly a fever, can't remember. And we wrote to them just being like, hey, any chance you can let us know what this is here and now? And if so, if he needs a prescription, can you do it over the portal like this? And they're like, yeah, nah, he really needs to come in. So we go in, they do the test, he has strep, we get what we need. Something like that needs to be tested, right? But there's been plenty of other times. There was another time more recently where my oldest had a rash, and it was also associated with a very high fever. And again, took a picture, sent where the rash was, told them what his most recent fever temperature was, and they're like, yeah, this is spot on to what this is. We think he has this. Monitor him for another day or two. Let us know if he gets better or worse. Sure enough, played its course. Within a day or two, his fever did go down the next day, and the rash started to clear up, and it was exactly what they had said it was. So highly recommend checking out if their doctor has some type of portal access like this. It saved us a lot of time, but also brought us a lot of peace of mind as well, because we were able to ask questions on the fly. I don't know about you guys, but we're not huge fans of having to call all these providers and insurance and all this stuff on the phone. So it's a lot easier to just, for us at least, type out what we need to communicate, send pictures if we have to, and get an answer. So that's my big takeaway, that this whole episode over the last weekend in this last week reminded me of and thought I would share. So go ahead and check for that. And if you've had any recent stories with your kids being sick and how it went, feel free to let me know and shoot me a message. All right, guys. Until next time, I'll see you then.